It's a great question and a very valid question. I'm going to let the USTR, the trade rep, Jameson Greer, as well as Secretary of Commerce and Secretary Lutnick, provide more detail on that. I know that's not exactly the answer that you want, but I will speak at a high level to the fact that China has abrogated the agreement. The United States acted immediately and in good faith, as of course you all saw, with the proclamation adjusting the tariff rate. China did not fulfill the obligations that it made and committed to with the United States. And so that opens up all manner of action for the United States to ensure future compliance. It remains the president's hope and desire that China will choose the path of cooperation, of common ground, and that we can open up China to American business, just in the same way that America, of course, as we all know, has been open to Chinese business for a very long time now. And so hopefully China will choose the path, to use a very common bureaucratic phrase, of rules-based conduct, not a phrase I often use, but it applies here, and follow the agreement that they reached. Next question.
How quickly must China respond? How quickly must China respond to the president's demands until that action is taken?
And well, again, as I mentioned, China often says that it believes in the exact phrase of the rules-based international order, right? We've all heard that phrase from China over and over again. This is the chance to show it's serious about upholding that commitment to the rules-based international order. And as soon as possible is the best answer I can give you. We want to see them comply with their agreements with the United States and fulfill their obligations so that we can have, again, a relationship that is cooperative and that is constructive, which is what the president wants.
Stephen, could you share more information about the person who was impersonating Chief of Staff Susie Wiles? The FBI is now investigating that. Can you share any
I don't have any information on that. I apologize.
On the new visa restriction policy
Yes.
that will apply to foreign nationals that, according to the U.S. government, are censoring Americans through social media, for example. From your perspective, is this something that is happening in Latin America?
Well, there are examples, for example, in Brazil of fairly significant restrictions that have been imposed on the free speech rights of Americans. But
would you mention someone in specific?
But just as a general matter, this represents the United States' continued commitment to restoring free speech and fighting censorship. It was one of the big issues in the election, and we're going to fulfill and follow through on that commitment.
Can you talk about the China student visa restrictions? Is this something the U.S. is planning on doing long-term, and does it apply to all students long-term, not just some specific subjects and those who are connected to the
Well, the State Department is putting that in place right now, so I don't want to get ahead of Secretary Rubio in how exactly that's going to be developed. So details to come. But as a general matter, the policy is going to be that we're not going to be awarding visas to individuals who have a risk of being engaged in any form of malign conduct in the United States, which of course would include espionage, theft of trade secrets, theft of technology, or other actions that would degrade the security of our industrial base. At the same time, there's a deeper issue here too. J.D. Vance has spoken about it as well, about that we don't do enough in this country to reward and celebrate American genius. You know, we in the 20th century, during a period of very low migration, led the modern world in everything: aviation, space flight, technology, national development, medicine, everything, using our own genius here in this country. And so, of course, we want to have an immigration policy that allows, just as we did during the World War II era, people have specialized knowledge to be able to contribute to our national economic security. What we can't do is have a system that deprives Americans of an opportunity to contribute to their own country. And we cannot have a policy in America where every citizen of this country, whether looking for a job, whether looking for housing, whether they're looking for a government benefit in a time of need, has to compete with all of planet Earth. Because then you're not a nation anymore.
All right, Stephen Miller speaking right now.
Voilà. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous saluons. Nous entrons la caillou, nous permettre que vous gagnez une idée de certaines informations qui ont dominé l'actualité.